Sometimes a hero's sacrifice is so great that he doesn't get to hear the celebration or receive the accolades for what he's done. Sometimes a hero becomes one without trying to be one. Such was the case for Joe Delaney. Delaney gave his life while trying to save three other lives. He wasn't trying to be a hero, he was simply trying to help people that needed it. We already know how Joe Delaney's story ends, but how exactly does an NFL player who only got to live his dream for 2 seasons develop the mindset and the courage to where he puts others before himself without thinking about the consequences? Come with us as we take a look at the life and the tragic but heroic passing of Joe Delaney. Joe Alton Delaney was born on October 30th, 1958 in Henderson, Texas. He was the sixth of 9 children born to Woodrow and Eunice Delaney. As a child, his family moved to Houghton, Louisiana. Growing up, Joe used to mow an elderly lady's lawn once a week without being told to do so or being asked to do it. Why? Because he knew that the woman couldn't do it herself. When Joe decided that he wanted to play football, his father was against it. Mr. Delaney believed that Joe should be focused on doing chores around the house instead of playing some game. On top of that, he didn't think football was a manly game. When Joe showed up to play football, the coaches tried to talk him out of it. "You're too small to play football," they told him. Then they tried to convince Joe that he should be the team manager instead. Hearing this brought tears to Joe's eyes. This changed the coach's mindset toward Joe, as playing football was obviously very important to him. Joe then repeated to the coaches, "I want to play football." He then told them that one day he'd be playing professional football. Joe attended Houghton High School. While there, he played wide receiver in a wishbone offense. When he did get the ball, he used his 9'4", 100-meter dash speed to either run past people or to simply run away from them. After he graduated high school, Joe attended college at Northwestern State, which was located in Natchitoches, Louisiana. He remained close to home as Houghton was only 90 miles away. In Joe's first season, the team suffered an injury at running back. Seeing that the team was short-handed at that position, Joe volunteered to change positions from wide receiver to running back in order to help the team. In his first season at his new position, Joe struggled. In his second season, he was better. Following that second season, on December 30th, 1978, Joe married his high school sweetheart, Carolyn. In his final 2 seasons at running back, Joe was outstanding. He was a 2-time All-American and capped off his career as a senior by setting a school record by rushing for 1,110 yards. On top of being a football star, Joe was also a standout when it came to track and field. In his final year in college, Joe teamed with future Miami Dolphins star receiver Mark Duper to lead the school's 4x100-meter relay team to the NCAA championship. After his final season in college, Joe entered the NFL draft in 1981. He watched the draft in his college coach's office, and after he was chosen by the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round, he excitedly called his wife with the news. Coming into the league, Joe was an underdog. He was 5'10" and weighed 184 pounds. He was from a small school that most people had never heard of. And here he was trying to play a game where size and strength were 2 of the most important tools you needed to be successful. On top of all that, Joe's new head coach, future Hall of Famer Marv Levy, didn't like to play rookies. Joe approached all of this by saying that he had to put food on his table, and he used his combination of speed, heart, and will to make that happen. Joe was the first player in the locker room every day. He won over his teammates through his hard work and dedication to getting better. While Joe was friendly and said hi to everyone that passed him, he grew up country. He also liked to talk fast. That was a bad combination for some people that talked to him because his fast talking plus his deep southern accent made it hard for some people to understand what he was saying. Current Chiefs owner Clark Hunt was a ball boy when Joe first joined the team. He remembers Joe as being a really quiet guy. Most importantly, Hunt says that he had never seen anyone who ran as fast as Joe did. This speed helped Joe win over Coach Levy and change his mind about not playing rookies. After seeing Joe in person, Levy was smart enough to know that he had to find a way to get this guy on the field and utilize that speed. When a reporter once asked Joe if he was as fast as he looked, Joe had a one-word answer. Yeah. Once the regular season started, it would take Joe a few games before he got to show his stuff. Finally, in week 5, he had his first 100-yard rushing game. It came against the New England Patriots as Joe rushed for 101 yards on 18 carries while also scoring his first career NFL touchdown. He followed that game up by rushing for 106 yards in a win over the Oakland Raiders. Joe kept the ball rolling in week 7 as he rushed for 149 yards and a touchdown against the Denver Broncos. 2 weeks later, the San Diego Chargers got to see Joe up close and in person as he hit them up for 117 rushing yards. In week 11, Joe had the biggest game of his career as he rushed for 193 yards in the Chiefs' win over the Houston Oilers. Despite starting only 10 games and missing the final game of the season, Joe rushed for 1,121 yards while averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. To complete the season, not only was Joe named the AFC Rookie of the Year, he also was a starter in that season's Pro Bowl. We're going to take a time out from our story to ask you to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit that notification bell, and repeat when it comes to our videos. Now, back to our story. Along with the accolades, Joe had gained the respect of his peers. His offensive line loved him. Future Hall of Famer running back Earl Campbell called Joe one of the finest running backs that he'd ever seen. Oakland Raiders defensive back Lester Hayes compared Joe favorably to Tony Dorsett. Other people compared Joe to the Detroit Lions running back Billy Sims, who was one of the best running backs in the NFL at that time. Additionally, on a team full of veterans, a rookie, Joe Delaney, was named the team's most valuable player by his teammates. Joe's second season was marred by 2 different things, a player strike and an eye injury. Playing in only 8 games, Joe carried the ball less than 100 times. However, his down season did nothing to dim the Chiefs' hopes for their young star running back. Off the field, even after all the success he had in his first season, Joe didn't let any of that go to his head. As he had always done, even before he ever made it to the NFL, Joe still always brought his check home and gave it to his wife. He'd tell her, "This is for you, just give me a little change to put in my pocket. I'm happy with that." Full disclosure though, Joe did take some money out of one of those checks to cover the expenses for the funeral of a teacher whose family couldn't afford to pay for it. A family man, Joe was content with his life with his wife and his 3 children, who were ages 7, 5, and 4 months. His family was everything to him. Then came the day that Joe would leave all of that behind. On an extremely hot day on June 29, 1983, Joe went to a small festival at Chenot Park in Monroe, Louisiana, with some friends. At the site, there was a pond that had been dug out to get the dirt for a water slide to lay on top of. The pond was about 2 acres in size. 3 young boys, looking to get some relief from the heat, got into the makeshift pond. Neither one of those boys knew how to swim. When they got into a deep part of the pond, each boy began to struggle to keep their heads above water, and they then began yelling for help. Joe, who was sitting on the ground about 75 yards away from where the boys were, without hesitation instinctively reacted when he heard the boys' cries for help. He jumped up, handed his wallet to a bystander, told her he was going into the water to save the kids, then ran to the pond and jumped in. There was only one problem. Joe didn't know how to swim either. Despite this, Joe was able to save one of the boys, who was only 6 years old. When the police got there, They discovered that while the one boy that we just mentioned was able to get out of the pond, the two other boys never resurfaced from going under. They both had drowned. Both boys were only 11 years old. Then, the woman that Joe had given his wallet to alerted police to the fact that there was a man who had jumped into the pond to try to save the boys. What was he? After that, police retrieved another body from the pond. Sadly, it was Joe. He had drowned along with the boys while trying to save them. He was only 24 years old. After news of Joe's passing spread and was covered nationally, people all across America began praising him as a hero. Joe's funeral was held at Houghton High School gym. Over 3,000 people were there, but the small facility couldn't hold that many people. In fact, two of Joe's sisters had to share a chair during his service. Despite the limited space, the Vice President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, attended the service. After his passing, recognition for Joe, his sacrifice, and his courage, and everything that he stood for began to pour in from across the nation. 2 weeks after his death, Joe was awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal by the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. The medal is the second highest civilian award in the United States, ranking just below the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It honors Americans who have performed exemplary deeds or provided outstanding service to their country or fellow citizens. Vice President Bush presented the award to Joe's widow and to his mother. In the fall of 1983, Joe's college alma mater, Northwestern State, retired his number 44 jersey. The Joe Delaney Memorial Leadership Award was also created to honor each season's team captains. Joe's high school retired his jersey and also created a park in his honor. The NCAA honored Joe by awarding him the NCAA Award of Valor in 1984. The Kansas City Chiefs honored Joe by inducting him into their Ring of Honor at Arrowhead Stadium. They unofficially retired his number 37 jersey. No Kansas City Chief has worn that number since. Additionally, during the 1983 season, the Chiefs wore a patch on the chest of their jerseys that had a gold eagle along with Joe's number 37 on it. In 1997, Joe was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Even now, over 42 years after his death, Joe Delaney's legacy is still larger than football. His act of courage and sacrifice forever etched his name in history. While a lot of attention has been focused over the years on honoring athletes for what they do on the field, Joe represented the best of what not just athletes, but all human beings could be off the field. Courageous, selfless, and willing to help others. Nothing could stop Joe from helping someone who needed it. We should always remember a man like that. The world needs more people like Joe Delaney. Unfortunately, we lost the original far, far too soon. We appreciate you taking the time to come and check out our video. Hopefully we're able to either A, refresh your memory of what happened to Joe Delaney if you're already aware of who he was, or B, introduce you to somebody that everybody needs to know about. Even though it's been over 40 years since he passed, what he did shouldn't be forgotten by sports fans or anyone else. We hope that you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully enough to where you will not only go back and look at videos that we have already produced, but you will also come back and look at the ones that we produce in the future. Thanks for taking the time, and see you soon.